Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Beadsmith presents the centerline feather component. I am Leslie Rogowski, the creative director for the Beadsmith. I'm joined today by my friends at Michaels and my assistant from the Beadsmith, Leslie Pope, who is here with us. She will be monitoring your questions during this workshop. So before we start, please remember that this is being recorded and you will be able to watch everything afterwards at your leisure, stopping and starting. And we'll be able to download the PDF that has the instructions and repeats what I'm going to show you today. So consider this a demo that you can watch and check into the recording later to watch at your leisure. Everything that is able to be downloaded will be posted in the link. So there'll be a link to the PDF and a link from Michael's on where you can go to see this later. So I suggest that you watch this and then go back to the video. Let's get started with the feather center line. If you come on down to my bead mat, I'm going to show you some of the materials. Look at these colors. What I did, let's start here, okay? This is the feather, the center line component. Now, I use these brand new Heishe beads from Michaels to make the bracelet that you see, that you saw when you signed up. And I was so excited about these colors. The center line component has a little slot in the center of it where you sew Delicas beads. So I'm going to show you how to put the Delicas beads in and then how to string on Stretch Magic, because stackables, right? I mean, you see all my other bracelets that I like to wear? This will go perfectly with any of the other bracelets that you're going to stack. And being stretchy, it gives it that adjustability, right? Okay, so we have the centerline feather that you find at Michaels. The Heishe beads, which come in trios of these colors, they're just fantastic. I'm going to take these away now and bring some of the other materials out. So you will need some Heishe beads, the centerline feather, Stretch Magic, there we go, Delicas beads in whatever colors you want. Michaels has a nice selection of a dozen colors or so. You will need to do the Delicas work. You're going to need beading needles size 12. So I suggest the Beadsmith Pebble, which has size 10 and 12 needles, and it's this cute little container here, keeps your needles nice and safe. Fireline, this shows crystal, but it also comes in smoke, which is a dark color. So crystal is light and smoke is a gray dark color. 2 weights in your double pack. You can use either the 6-pound or the 4-pound for this project. And the thread zap, my favorite tool of all time. So you'll see me use this later, which nips the thread. You can get in really nice and close to that. And a little bit of Hypo cement to dab the glue that you're, the knot with glue, the knot you're going to make with the Stretch Magic. Phew, I know that seems like a lot, right? All right, let's get started. Take this away and take this away. So I have a teaching aid that I've made. When I teach people how to do the centerline components, it's kind of hard to show you guys because these are small and the Delicas beads are so tiny. So pretend that this slot right here is this slot in the center line. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to add the Delicas using this. And then I'm going to do it quickly in the center line. So you get both views of how to make this. So right now I just have, this is just foam core that I've cut the little slot. And you can see that there's 2 holes here. In the center line component, you also have those 2 holes. Let's see if I can bring that up. There's 2 holes for where you're going to sew, and there's another hole above each of the holes for where you string it to link together. There, you can see the 2 holes, nice, right? All right, so we're going to do this. I'm going to string a stopper bead. I'm just using a Ceylon thread, just something nice and visible so that you can see it. And I need a skinnier embroidery needle. Here we go. I picked an embroidery needle that was too thick and it wasn't going through my stopper bead. All right, that's okay. Let's do this. I'm just going to string this back in here. And by the way, this stringing tip usually works for me for Fireline really well. I hold the thread really so it's hardly showing, and I bring the slot of the needle to the thread, and it usually goes right through like that. So I'm going to come from back to front through the top or bottom hole. It doesn't matter which direction you string it. And I'm using size 8 Delicas, which are really big. And again, this is just to show you guys how to string the center line. You're going to use size 11 Delicas for the actual component. So I'm just going to string a bunch to fill the window. The window in the feather takes 17 size 11s. And I'm just going to string an amount to show you. All right, so you would be coming out of the hole from back to front. You're going to string your Delicas to fit in that window. Now I'm going from front to back through the hole. Now, in order for this to stay in position in the window, you want to make sure that your thread comes around through the hole, not only front to back, but back to front through the beads. So I'm actually bringing my needle through the window, and I'm going to sew right through these beads again, up through the beads. And you can use your finger to hold the beads up into the window. Don't skip any. And you don't have to do it all at once. So I'm holding my beads up with my finger underneath. Now, remember what I said about needing a thread to come from your beads from front to back and back to front. So I'm going to take my needle through the window from front to back and come up again from back to front. So now your center line component will have threads coming from the beads through the front to the back and through the back to the front. Do you see how there's little threads showing right there? This, by the way, is the basic technique for all the centerline components, including, for instance, this bracelet here, where the little holes are running along the sides. This is the centerline cuff. And you do the same thing to make sure that the beads stay in the window. Now, what you would do is you would keep weaving, following the same technique, back and forth through your line of beads until you feel that thread feel snug. You do not have to knot this thread. You just want to make sure that the ends are all through the beads a few times, and then you're going to trim it and it's going to stay there. Here's where the thread zap comes in. The thread zap is battery operated. It gets very hot on the tip. There's a little button. When you press the button, let's see if you can see this, you'll see that tip start to get red. You can see it, I can see it. And you're gonna, boom. Now you're gonna do it close to your beadwork so that it's nice and hidden. And that's the only time that you need the thread zap, is when you do the center line. So just, you know, put something in the chat window. Is that clear to everybody? I'm seeing some people nod. Good, good. Okay, let's put this aside, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when you do it on the actual component, the center line feather. So I have strung a little stopper bead, and I've come from back to front through that little inside hole. I already have my Delicas strung. I just have 17. I figured out that's what fits. You see how that fits so nice in that little window there. And now I'm going to go from front to back through the inner hole. Now be careful you don't pull so hard that you pull your stopper bead off, because you'll lose your beads. It's not a big deal to restring it, but you know. Okay, so front to back. Now I want to make sure that I'm sewing through the line of beads from back to front. So I'm going to sneak my needle into the window next to the beads, and I'm going to sew up. I'm holding the beads up in the window with my fingers underneath. And I'm just gonna carefully, so I don't skip any beads, sew back through this line of beads, and it pulls it nice and snug. Now you can turn the component over and work that way too, as long as you remember that the thread has to catch front to back and back to front. So I need to go through the window and come back up again. And I'm going to keep sewing back and forth through this little line of beads. We'll get this to stay. Now I turned it over because I realized I hadn't hooked that little piece of thread there. So I'm just going to sew right back through the Delicas. You know, it always looks more fiddly when you're trying to do something on camera. But this is where you want to make sure you have a nice, clean, fresh needle from your Beadsmith Pebble, because it'll help you to get through the beads. There we go. One more. Get in there. Now you can make a pattern too. You can change up the colors. And I'm going to go from back to front, and I would just keep doing this until I felt the thread get firm. And then I would take the stopper bead off the tail, and I'm going to show you my little thread tip again with a skinny needle. I'm pulling the thread down so that it's like a poppy seed between my fingers, and I'm going to bring the eye of the needle down to the thread. Whoops. Don't drop it, that doesn't help. And it goes right through. Now there's no need for a knot, like I said, and I'm just going to sew back down. There's a lot of thread in the beads now, so I can feel it being snug. And because this line of beads doesn't have, there's no tension on it, it's not weight bearing. Now I can go in with my thread zap. Let's see if I can show you this. And I'm going to pull it with my fingers so that it's sticking out from the little bead where I want to trim. And I'm going to press on the button and just touch it to the thread. And I'm going to do that on the other side. I love my thread zap so much. You can really get in nice and tight. So there's a little feather. I'll show you the one that I did again for the sample that you saw. Do you see how I picked up the colors of the Heishe beads that I used? You can do this too. And I'm going to show you another feather with Heishe beads when I show you how to string this. So that's what comes up next. All right, I chose for my sample for you to make what a size. For me, I love black and white. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take a piece of Stretch Magic and cut a piece that's 3 times longer than your wrist measurement. The feather itself is about 1.25 inches. So if you wanted to make a bracelet that fit 6 inches, then what does that give you? 4 3/4 inches. It would be your Stretch Magic, and you're going to triple that. Now I just did it easy and made mine 3 times 6. So I have an 18-inch piece of Stretch Magic. And you're going to string your Heishe beads in whatever pattern or colors that you want. The Heishes have nice big holes. They're very, very lightweight. I don't know what the material is, but they're very cool. They're real soft. They feel really good on your wrist. And you can always add or subtract the Heishes before you knot this together. So what you want to do is kind of do a little try on and see how much room you have left. Remember that this is stretchy. It's going to go over the wide part of your hand, but you need a little bit of space added to that length because you want your center line feather on there. So you do your feather first, and then you cut your Stretch Magic. And again, this is all information you'll find in the PDF. And I think, Leslie Pope, there's a link in the chat for the PDF. Awesome. All right. Now, I wanted to keep the knot of the bracelet. Where's my finished bracelet that I just took off? I wanted to put the knot in the middle. I don't want it near where I'm going to be going through the center line. I thought it would be more conspicuous there. So you're going to string through one of those other big holes, not the one you sewed your Delicas in, but you're going to string one end of your Stretch Magic through one of those outer holes, and then you're going to string it back through the Heishe beads. So it's just formed a loop like this, because you're going to do that with the other side through the other hole, and the ends of your Stretch Magic are going to meet in the middle. Now mine's not quite in the middle. And I also I'm going to put my knot near one of the darker colors of my Heishe beads. So let's finish this. I have little pieces of tape on the ends of my Stretch Magic so I don't lose my beads. And they just pull right off. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave this one on for now. So I have Stretch Magic attached to one end, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. And I'm going to string up through the little hole. And now I'm going to do it a little bit at a time. I'm going to take like stacks, like little vinyl albums. And I'm going to feed the end of the Stretch Magic through each stack till I get back to where the other end is coming out. So I have stacks and I'm holding them with my fingers. There's the end of the stretch magic. Feed it through. And you'll have a chance to adjust to pull this snug. But here's also where I like having a little extra stretch magic. I don't cut myself short, so I have enough just to hold and work with. And can you see how I'm holding my end of the stretch magic against the long piece? That really helps to feed these through. I'm gonna slide them down. We're almost there. You know, this method of stringing onto stretch cord can be used for all kinds of beads as long as there's enough room inside the holes to have the two strands. Now I'm using 0.5 millimeter, so it's a little bit thicker. I wanted to make sure it was gonna stand up to the wear and tear that I tend to put on bracelets like this. I'm hard on my shoes and I'm hard on my stretchy bracelets. We're going to keep feeding these through till the ends meet. So having the feather as the charm on this just kicks it up a notch. And it takes these very bright, playful beads and elevates your piece of jewelry. There we go, almost there. Because I really want to show you guys how to knot this. Now, if you start running out of thread like this, pull your beads away from your center line to pull the thread. So you're pulling the thread in, the stretchy cord, to give yourself extra. Don't just yank it against the centerline component. Although the holes are extremely well finished and smooth, you just don't want to start to abrade your stretch magic. I'm going to go back to stringing. It's very zen, you guys, actually. Even when you're on camera. Just going to feed that through the holes. It's nice that they have these nice big holes. There we go. And pull it through, and you can see why I have the tape on the end of the other piece so I don't accidentally pull it. Almost there. All right, here's the last bit. Now, when you get your ends together, et voila. Again, you're going to slide the beads away from the center line. Make sure you're pulling the right cord to bring the ends together. And then the cord that you just threaded through, you're going to pull those. Because you want, oh, it looks very Beetlejuice, doesn't it? Happy Halloween. And you're going to see that the holes actually come up over the little tips of the center line. They're just really nice and accommodating. So you want to make sure that you don't have this gap. Can you see that gap there? So again, I'm going to pull from here to make sure that this closes up. There we go. All right, now you have your two ends together. You're going to make a surgeon's knot. Here, take your little tape off. A surgeon's knot is like a half hitch with an extra loop in it. When you tie your shoes, you make a half hitch to get started, in case anybody doesn't know what that is. You go around and through and pull this nice and snug. And then you're going to go around and around again and pull it snug. Now you don't want to pull it too hard, but there's your knot. Now you would take your Hypo cement and you were going to, it's got a nice skinny little tip. So you can get in here with the Hypo cement and just dab a little bit on there. It's very aromatic. And you're going to let it dry completely before you do anything else. I'm going to put the thing back in later so I don't waste your time. Now, after this dries, you're going to rethread the little ends, one through one side and one through the other side. And your knot is going to sit right, it's going to fit into a hole. So there's your finished bracelet. Pretend that's dry and they've cut off. Very fun, very lightweight. Good for talented youngsters to do this with a little supervision. I think an 11 or 12-year-old, if they can handle a needle and thread, they can do the center line. But what a great thing to do, like with a godchild, child of your own, somebody you babysit for. If you do the center line and they string the Heishe beads, then you have a cooperative artistic effort. How fun. Are there any questions coming in? This is pretty basic. No. Okay. Well, this is a short one then. On behalf of Beadsmith and Michaels, I hope you had fun and learned something to make you a better beader. Now, I want to remind you also that my next workshop is with a micro engraver, and I'm going to show you how to do some very fun stuff onto glass, spice jars, goodie jars, treasure jars, hugs and kisses jars. That's going to be November 10th, and I think it's at the same time. So check out that workshop, and I'll see you then. Thanks for joining us.